Welcome back to TSPN. I'm your host, Brandon Parsons, here with my co-host, Carter Gwen, and our producer, Lena Hess. Today we're not in our normal setting. We probably will be later in the episode, but right now we're in the trenches here at Penn State.
We're at the shrine of the Nittany Lion. It's raining out, but we're still here to produce a good episode.
Yeah, we're waiting on Braden Sloss right now. He's going to come down here to the shrine because he just got done on spring break, and we're going to get an interview with him. Lena, any last words?
I'm doing everything.
Say we are.
We are.
So TSPN was invited to these awards after winning the regional competition at St. Francis for our episode with Rayleigh and Nicole. So we arrived. We're here at the Nittany Lion Inn, and yeah, we're just pulling up early, get a little bit of breakfast into us, and yeah.
OJ that I took earlier.
Why are you zooming in on my face?
Yo, Carter, what are you sipping on?
Some coffee.
What's your cup? What's in there?
Coffee.
No, you're lying to me. I know it's OJ.
No, coffee.
I saw you filling up. Give me that. Such a good. Yeah, so place is getting a little packed now. Just wait until 10 o'clock whenever the opening remarks will begin. Carter, do you have anything to add?
Nope.
After breakfast, we got our opening remarks from Emily Clevenger, John Affleck, and Aaron Fitzpatrick. Emily is the head of recruitment at the College of Communications at Penn State. John Affleck is just the head of the College of Communications, and Aaron Fitzpatrick is the president of PSPA and a teacher at Freedom High School. After that, we did a press conference about residence life with some current RAs and some senior associate directors of residence life.
I'm here with Emily Clevenger, the manager of recruitment for the communications here at Penn State University. So I'm just going to shoot you a couple questions. And what are some of your main selling points for students to come here at Penn State for communications rather than a smaller school where they might get more hands-on experience in like the social media especially, and it's not a big group of people working at one common goal? Like at a smaller school, you're gonna be putting in a lot more work to get the social media out there and stuff like that. So
yeah, this is a great question, and I actually really like the way that you phrased it as well. So in the Belisario College, we're positioned uniquely that first and foremost we are Penn State. Right? That means we are a really big school. It means we get to take advantage of big school resources, right? We have 31 NCAA collegiate level sports here at Penn State. We've got this big, beautiful campus. We've got lots of resources. We have the largest living paid alumni network in the nation, right? That all comes with being a big school. But the Belisario College is a small academic college that's part of the big university. So inside the communications education, we get that small school feel. We get that classroom size. We get to provide our students opportunities to have hands-on real-world experience early on. So it's really great that we are the best of both worlds, and I think that is a huge selling piece to kind of make sure that we're attracting the best and the brightest students here.
Okay, I got you. So how does the Belisario College of Communications really prepare their students for a future in communications where maybe AI is taking more of a role in communications, and obviously, you're going to have to know how to use AI in communications to prepare for the future. That way you don't lose your job to AI.
Yeah, this is another great question. So what's really fun to watch as AI becomes topics of big debate here, and I think what's really important to know is that the Belisario College is not shying away from those conversations. The Belisario College is actually leading those conversations across the entire Penn State organization. So we are not just understanding the impact of AI and how to work around it. No, AI is a reality. AI is a great tool. Understanding how we're using AI to be better, right? Understanding the ethics of AI, when to report, how to report, right? Understanding how to be ethical consumers of AI. How you expect how do you identify a deep fake or an AI hallucination, right? Things like that. So we're teaching our students how to use AI, where AI will take them into their career, but we're also understanding how to not just teach AI, but how to teach with AI. So making sure it's kind of that holistic approach to fully embrace AI and both the positives and the negatives that it might usher in with it.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So I had a lecture from, I believe he's a professor here at Penn State currently, Jeff Remington, and he said that you're not going to lose your job to AI, you're going to lose your job to somebody who knows how to utilize AI.
Yes, that's absolutely a thing. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome. It was so nice
I'm here with
to meet you.
Aaron Fitzpatrick, the PSPA president. You're currently a teacher at Freedom High School, correct?
Correct.
And you want to Teacher of the Year award there?
It was the Journalism Teacher of the Year award. Yeah, it was 2018, I think.
Okay, there we go. So I'm just going to have a few questions for you. First one's going to be, why are sports journalism so important to communities, especially in this area in central Pennsylvania? I don't really know where Freedom High School is, but from central Pennsylvania.
Well, yeah, Freedom is just north of Pittsburgh, so we're Western PA. Western PA, as you know, is a hotbed of sports talent. So extra important, especially when it's such a part of the culture, to tell those stories. To it connects the past to the present. It helps people realize that there's more to life of the student athlete than just like what you see and what you hear. And I think having a well-rounded sports journalism program really kind of kind of boosts the school. People like to see their names in print, and especially now, like, there really aren't as many regional publications that are covering this stuff well, and nobody has better access than their own schools. So having more coverage certainly is kind of filling the gaps.
So is that a Whippeal school?
Yes.
Okay, so you guys are probably widely covered by more local newspapers, like professional newspaper-wise. How would it differ from the more professional news companies compared to your student journalism, and the different aspects that the students have compared to the professionals?
Sure. I mean, our school specifically, like, we're in Beaver County, so being north of Pittsburgh or whatever. Now, yes, you're still sort of in that, like, Trib Total Media, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, which has a very uncertain future now. Being in that media market can be helpful. However, Beaver County is kind of its own world almost. It's small. The Beaver County Times doesn't cover nearly as much. The student publications in that area really do fill that void, like as far as getting those stories out there, because I coached whenever I first started teaching for a little bit. I coached golf, and then I coached cross country. Yeah. And we used to have to report scores to all the local media, whatever. That doesn't happen quite the same. Like, now in my broadcast program, we have to cover all the results and things like that, and it is difficult to find results from different sporting events depending on the sport. Some are really hard to find, so you rely on the coaches and the athletes. In our print program, we rely on those journalists to find that information, verify it, and then get that in print.
Yeah, we can definitely relate to that. It's really hard to find golf scores, definitely. Yeah. Cross-country scores, swimming scores aren't impossible. I don't even know how to read the worksheet. I just ask our advisor. So, all right, appreciate your time, Aaron.
No problem.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Sadly, John Affleck left before we had the chance to interview him, but we still got our interviews with Mrs. Clevenger and Mr. Fitzpatrick. And we went back into the ballroom after these interviews, and the residents' life press conference was still going on, and more students were asking them questions. I'm pretty sure for their journalism competition, where they had to take notes and write a story probably about that. I don't know. Tyrone didn't have anybody in that competition, but we had Anna, who was doing photography for the competition, and Kathy Soroki, who was doing sketches for the competition. So for this part of TSPN, we're going to go through a current Tyrone student, and then we're going to move on to a Tyrone alum that now is a communications major at Penn State main campus, and then another Tyrone alum who is now a WTAJ reporter. So we're going to start with Anna, who is currently a senior at Tyrone and does sports photography for the Eagle Eye. She entered the PSPA Awards along with TSPN, Kathy Soroki, and then obviously herself for her photography. She also entered the PSPA Awards last year. She got first in the regional competition and made it to states. This year she also got first in the regional competition, so we're going to start with her experience from last year and then move on to this year. So how was your experience in the PSPA Awards from last year?
Well, compared to this year, it was pretty much the same because I kind of knew what to expect, and I feel like I went in a lot more prepared.
What kind of pictures did you submit last year that won you the regional competition?
I submit mainly football photography because that's what I'm most experienced with, and that's like what gets the most reactions from people.
Okay. Was the regional competition about the same as the state competition last year, or did you have to take different pictures there too?
Well, it was about the same. They were just held in a different location. This year's, we went up to St. Francis, and their campus, I think, was a lot nicer, but it was a lot more confusing because there was a lot of like mix up with the buildings we had to go to.
Where did we go last year? We went to Penn State Tuna, didn't
Yeah.
we? Yeah. Okay. And then how did you first get started taking pictures last year at Tyrone sporting events?
I just asked TCAM for a camera and he said okay.
There you go. With your time at the Tyrone Eagle Eye, what has been your favorite sport to shoot?
Football, 100%.
Moving on to the PSPA awards, what made you decide to enter them on the regional level, and which photos did you submit for this year?
Well, I submitted them because TCAM told me I should, and I do take pride in my photography because I think my pictures are great. But what really made me submit them was that I like see sports photography as something that I could do as like a side job in the future, and I want to better my skills.
Yeah, and a lot of time you're on the field, and it takes a lot of time being at like every single game, obviously, and taking all these pictures. But really, a lot of the work is going through every single picture, finding the good ones, editing them. How much time would you say is different from shooting compared to the editing process and finding the ones that you decide are good enough to post or put on the Eagle Eye and stuff like that?
Well, to shoot all the pictures, I'd say it probably takes like 3 hours. Picking all the right ones probably takes about 2, depending on how many pictures I take. Each football game, I take anywhere from like 700 to like 2,000 pictures. So I have to go through them all, make sure the majority of them are okay. And because the Eagle Eye only supports up to 50 pictures per slideshow, I really have to nitpick which ones I think would be okay. The editing process, I don't really edit my pictures that much except for I crop them all. But I would say that it takes maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours to edit them all.
Yeah, and we'll put the pictures that she submitted for the PSPA awards this year on screen now, and you guys can look at those. So for the state competition, it's a completely different rubric than the regional competition because you have to take pictures at the state competition. How do you think that went? What were some of the categories? What are some of the focuses that they have you trying to hone in on during the state competition?
Well, the funny part is I didn't get the rubric until after the competition because TCAM forgot to give it to me. But some of the categories were like unique angle, a framing shot, unique lighting. There was a best from the year. There was a best from the regional event, which I lost, but then I found them, so it was okay. But the regional competition rubric was completely different, and I couldn't submit one from the regional event, but I had to have an academic shot, an anything music shot, best of the year, and a frozen action shot.
Yeah, and that's definitely pretty difficult to hit like all those categories, especially with all the schoolwork you're doing, different clubs, different activities that you're a part of throughout the year. How would you say that you approach photography, even just as like a sports photographer or even just news photographer, just school photographer, while being a student and keeping up with all your work and activities and everything else you do?
Well, I try my best to keep on top of it all, but luckily the majority of the players give me a little grace because like they get it because they're a part of all these different clubs too. But I try my best to get it done within a timely manner because I know they like all want to see their pictures. But
speaking of the athletes, what would you say is the best reaction to get to one of the pictures that you've taken?
100% whenever they post a story on Instagram and then your picture is their new profile picture.
We're going to wrap things up here now with some advice that you can give people that want to do photography for the Eagle Eye in the future. What is your best advice to do sports photography?
Just try your best. Photography is very difficult to get so perfect. You're going to see all these videos online of these people editing their pictures, and they're going to be like, oh, you have to do this, this, and this. You don't have to do any of that. If it looks good to you, 9 times out of 10, the rest of the people are going to think it looks good too.
Yeah, especially all the people saying about Photoshop. It's so hard to use. I've tried to use Photoshop. It's so like confusing. Watch tutorials. It takes forever. There's way too many things going on in it. Just say stick to Lightroom. And then lastly, are there any tips on building a portfolio for photographers currently, or even for the people just now getting into it, that they can enter in the PSPA awards, Maricopa, Keystone State, even college applications, or even like local media like the Daily Herald?
I would say keep it very broad. Don't do something too niche, because if you do, the judges aren't going to know what it is, and they will take points off for that.
Okay. That's going to do it for this interview on TSPN. Thank you, Anna.
Of course.
We're going to move on to Braden Sloss's interview next.
Before we get into the Sloss interview, just want to tell you guys how we got here. After the press conference, we went on a walk while people that were doing their competitions at the Nittany Lion Inn were competing. And we walked all the way to the Nittany Lion Shrine, which is honestly just down the road. And then we met up with Sloss, who I texted beforehand.
Oh my God, is that Sloss? Oh my God, we need an interview.
Okay, we ran into Braden Sloss here. Braden Sloss is the founder of Tyrant Sports Central. Used to do a lot of camera work for the Eagle Eye, and now he's a communications student here at Penn State, Maine. He does a lot of video work for football games, basketball, lacrosse, swimming, soccer, pretty much anything. So we're just going to shoot you a couple questions and just hand on the top of your head. So what first got you interested in sports media?
It was from being a sports fan growing up. I was always interested in sports. And then over COVID, I realized that there was actually jobs in this field and that I could stay in sports for a long time.
Okay, what's the most exciting sports event that you've covered here, probably mainly at Penn State, I'm assuming, and I'm also assuming it was football.
Yeah, it was definitely the whiteout last season against Oregon. Even though we didn't get the outcome that we wanted, it was still an insane experience going into overtime, 2 top 5 teams. It was an insane atmosphere to cover.
How do you think that media shapes the way people see athletes?
I think it's very important, and it's definitely a big power that could either go very good or very bad. It's very important that you know how to use it correctly. But I mean, at this point in 2026, it's make or break for an athlete to have a good brand on social media and in general.
Okay, we've got last question. What do you think the biggest challenge is when covering live sports?
I would say the fast-paced nature of the game and also the fast-paced nature of social media, because people don't want to see something days after, they want to see it directly after. So I would say having quick turnaround times and making sure you're on top of everything on the day of the game.
Okay, appreciate it, Sloss. Crazy encounter as the lion enters his natural habitat once again.
After our interview with Sloss, we walked back to the Nittany Lion Inn. It poured a lot, so we were soaking wet, and we had to wait around for some of the competitions to end so that we could go to lunch.
Braden, what are your thoughts on lunch being from 12:30 to 2?
A little late. Hopefully T-Kim just lets us go to Chipotle after.
Then get matcha.
Yeah, and Starbucks. Yeah. Look at that.
Yeah, once the competitions ended, we went to Panera Bread for lunch, got some good eats. It was actually gas, a little expensive, but there's Lana with her food, there's Carter with his food, and yeah, good old time. Once we got back from lunch a little bit later than expected, we hopped in a trivia game. We already missed 2 questions for being late, but Lane and I still ended up finishing 6th place. We have no idea where Carter was. He was falling asleep somewhere on a couch, and we ended up doing an interview with one of the people that were conducting the trivia.
Okay, who am I here with?
Jack Rachinsky. Always spell it out. Or
Oh, no, that's good. What do you do within the sports communications field?
So I'm a sports director for Com Radio, which is Penn State's student-run internet radio station. So whether that's overseeing our broadcast schedules, managing our weekly meetings, our weekly content, making sure everything goes smooth sailing on that end, that's probably my main thing that I enjoy and participate in on campus. Also involved with After the Whistle, which is we aired on the Belisario Media YouTube page weekly. So in the fall, we're running out Friday nights to cover high school football games in the area. And then in the winter and spring, we're doing stuff like, whether it's basketball or wrestling and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun to shine a light on some really cool stories, really cool people in the PA area. And also with Penn State Sports Night is more of we do a beat reporter show every other week covering local Penn State sports, and also an example and a way to get to up our studio work, whether that's being behind the cameras or at the desk and doing like a pre or post game thing. And a lot of that's fun. And then also a part of Belisario Fellows, which is Penn State's student ambassador program for the Belisario College. So we're representing events like here. We're teaching and speaking at high school lectures or doing events on campus to make the Belisario College a better place.
So you're a really busy man, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like you got a lot going on there. So first question I have for you is, what responsibility do you have as a sports journalist whenever it comes to covering sports?
I think it's telling the story of something that you can't get on a broadcast, or something you can't get from just simply watching the game. So anyone nowadays, go on their phone, pull up an app, and see a box score, and that would be cool and all, but if you're there, you have the eyes and ears, you have the tools of the trade of understanding how to write a good story, how to write a compelling piece. Whether that is broadcasting a game and you're telling stories over the air, or you're a writer, or you're even like a talk show host, where that might be, it seems like it's just we're yelling about sports, but there's so much more to it. And I think that sometimes that gets lost, where, people see the finished product and not all the stuff that goes in behind it. So I think the duty is, even sports journalism, while it might seem like, oh, it's more fun or it's more casual, there still is that serious work that needs to be done to put on a finished product that's very rewarding and still has, all the qualities of good journalism.
Okay, the next question I have for you is, what skills do you feel are most important for someone who wants to work in sports media?
I think it's experience. You'll hear a lot of people in the industry just say reps are important, and obviously the more you do something, the better you're going to be at it. But at the same time, I think that when you're at an environment like Penn State, where I always pride myself on the fact that I've been able to cover big time events, in college, whether that's a game at Beaver Stadium, or you have women's hockey that's playing in the national championship semifinals on Friday, where you learn subconsciously how to leave your fandom at the door. Where we all go to Penn State, I think there's a natural inclination that you're probably cheering for Penn State when you're not on assignment somewhere, but knowing how to be unbiased, knowing how to not get starstruck when you see whether it's Drew Aller or Rocco Becht, and we're talking with him. For media, it's not like, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out. It's we got a job to do. So that's probably the big thing, is learning how to cultivate that through your time working in the journalism field.
Like you said, you've interviewed Drew Aller and Rocco. How do you balance the excitement in interviewing these future pro players, balance that with the accuracy in your sports reporting?
Well, I think the accuracy always comes first. I think there are times where you can definitely sit back and go, this is an awesome job. I got to call the whiteout against Washington 2 years ago for Com Radio, and there are some moments where I'm like, whoa, this is really cool. But at the same time, I know I have a job to do, and if that gets in the way of it, you're going to feel bad about it afterwards. I'm listening back and be like, what was I doing? So it definitely is that environment where you're harvesting that excitement, and you're saying that this is something I love to do. This is something that I'm very knowledgeable on. How about I turn that into making something good out of it? Where if I know that I can talk about Penn State football because I follow the team and I know all these stats and all these storylines because I'm excited about it, well, I don't want to turn that into just, oh, I'm glad I have a press pass. It's, no, let me make a good story out of it. So, really flipping that mindset, something that I've learned here in college.
Okay, and then my last question for you is, you work with After the Whistle, which covers high school sports primarily. How do you take a different approach, or is it the same approach, when flipping between high school athletes, high school games, between big football games at Beaver Stadium, whenever you got those pro level collegiate guys, compared to like Tyrone, small town Tyrone, the backyard brawl, just a small little rivalry, compared to the whiteout game?
Yeah, well, I worked with a guy by the name of Alan Hahn this summer, who's ESPN New York, does some coverage with the Knicks. Got to work with him at ESPN Radio this summer, and he told a story about how his first ever sports assignment from Long Island was covering high school badminton. Just completely random. But he's I treat it like I was covering the Super Bowl. You treat everything with the same amount of respect, the same amount of research and accuracy and all the things that go into a good journalistic piece. And then it doesn't matter whether I am calling the whiteout or we're just running up to a Tyrone game and be like, hey, can we talk to you? You had 2 touchdowns in the night. It's telling the same story. The same elements are still there. So once you get those experience, once you have those reps, I don't want to say it all becomes the same, but you definitely more and more realize that you do have a job to do, and that helps you in all those different scenarios. So it also, on the other hand, I think I've learned so much from working in high school games, where it's more of like I'm interviewing someone that it might be their first time on camera, first time being interviewed, and realize there's a person behind that. Where I think it's very hard, especially when you're here at Penn State covering like a big time sporting event, that like these people are human too, that they have these stories, that they have all this. So it goes both ways, where I think covering the larger events have taught me that you need to treat every event the same way with the same amount of dedication, but also at the lower level where you realize that we're all human at the end of the day, and that's what makes our job cool, is we have to tell these stories in different lights because we have all these tools of the trade.
Okay, yeah, that's it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Man, no problem.
After that interview, I did some work while we got a social media lecture on branding, and then everybody's phones died, so we couldn't get any more clips of the awards.
For our last part of this episode of TSPN, we have here Tyrone alumni Keegan Robbie, who currently works for WTAJ as a news reporter. And yeah, so we'll just start with his story.
After your time in the Eagle Eye and at Tyrone, where'd you go to college and what did you study?
Yeah, I graduated in 2020 from Tyrone. I went to Waynesburg University, about an hour south of Pittsburgh, and studied sports media with a focus on announcing.
Now in your current role as a news reporter for WTNJ, what are like the most important skills you learned from college that like translate to your job?
I'd say definitely time management. Time management was a big thing in the Eagle Eye. You do a story a week just because a lot of schoolwork with high school and everything, but like in college you had to produce a story almost every day, or like you were doing a newscast once a week and a bunch of other TV shows once a week. So time management definitely, especially on top of playing sports in college, that was a big thing that I took away from college and I'm putting into use at WTAJ.
So what is your current role at WTAJ as a reporter?
So I'm an MMJ multimedia journalist focused on news, but I'll do sports here and there. I cover high school football in the fall, a lot of District 9 teams that I go around, shoot highlights. I'll do some I actually just shot basketball last week in Punxsutawney. So sports here and there, but mostly news.
So a lot of time you're using like just B-roll and then you're doing voiceovers on top of that. How do you like decide what to say in your script so that it still has an impact, but it's not like over wordy whenever people are looking at the videos that you're shooting and putting on WTAJ?
Yeah, so for sports, I'd say you kind of, when you're shooting, you kind of know what parts you're going to use and you're not going to use. I do a little trick that actually former WTAJ anchor Jordan Tracy taught me. When you're shooting, after you see a good play, put your hand in front of the camera and then like cover it so you know when you're looking through your thumbnail that's the one you want to.
Tells us that too. After a good play, like in football, just like do like the grass. That way you know where it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So like I'll do that, and like once I finish shooting, I'll put all of it in. We use Adobe Premiere. I would put it all in Adobe and then go through all my highlights, see which ones I want, and then I'll just kind of describe the play a little bit briefly. It usually only 30-second highlights, so I'll find 4 to 5 plays, describe each play, and then just kind of word it in a way that flows nice and has readers understand like how the game went. Like if one team started really hot and then the other team came back, I'll just kind of word it like that. And then obviously at the end you want the final score and who won.
Now that you're covering more sports than at your first year at WTJ and like in the past, what are some of the sports events or sports related stories you've had the chance to cover so far?
Yeah, I've covered a lot of football every week. In the fall, I'll do every Friday night. I'll go to 1 or 2 games a night, shoot football. I was actually at a Tyrone game against Huntington this year, which was really cool. It was the first time I got to
that the playoff one?
shoot. Yeah, I showed up at halftime. I showed up at halftime. It was a little rough of a score, but still happy I got to shoot Tyrone, and that was fun to do. But I've done some featured stories as well. Actually, Elk County Catholic School, their coach last year hit 1,000 wins. So I got to do a feature story on that, went and shot the game, and that was pretty cool. I've also done a story on Bellwood graduate Allie Campbell, who was one of the top recruits out of high school, ended up tearing ACLs through college, transferred to Penn State, come back home, and did a featured story on her and how she was recovering from her injuries. She's still playing basketball now, which is pretty neat after going through those injuries. So that was a pretty cool story, just because I grew up with Allie. So I knew her family, so it was cool to do that story.
How do you see your communication skills growing as you move from general news into more sports-focused work?
Yeah, I'd say they kind of grew a lot through college. I kind of got a grasp on how the professional world was going to look. And I think now shooting more sports, basketball, football, than I did maybe my first year at WTAJ. I think shooting is the biggest thing for making sure like you have a good story, shooting B-roll, shooting highlights. So now that I'm doing it more with more practice, I feel like I've kind of grown into I'd say grown more skills in shooting video.
From the start of your time at WTAJ, how did you go through like your application process to get hired by WTAJ, like your starting role, and then like work up?
Yeah, so it was kind of easy for me. My professor at Waynesburg was actually hired as the news director at WTAJ my senior fall of college, so fall of my senior year of college. So she knew I was from the area. Actually, when she came to visit the station, we went out to lunch talking about it. She's originally from Pittsburgh, so she was new to the area and everything. So yeah, it was pretty neat. She knew my skill set already, so it was pretty easy to fill out an application, and she already knew what I was capable of. I actually started part-time, coming home on the weekends from college, working Friday nights, sometimes Saturday and Sunday, then going back to college on that Sunday night, which was pretty neat. I kind of got a jump start into my professional career.
What steps are you taking right now or planning to take to transition more into a sports reporter in the future?
Just a lot of practice, building up a demo reel, trying to do as many sports stories, sports highlights that I can to build up a demo reel for people to see.
Okay, and we're just gonna wrap it up here with some advice for people that want to be in the sports world and communications and journalism, reporting, stuff like that. So for high school students who want to be a sports reporter someday, what communication skills should they start working on now?
Definitely getting comfortable talking to people. Go out, talk to random people, ask them how their day is, just start up random conversations, because that's kind of what it takes to be in a role like this. Is you're always talking to people, whether it be coaches, players, just athletic directors, people on the staff. You're always going to be talking to people, whether that be interview or just talking to set stuff up. So getting comfortable talking to people for sure.
How can student journalists or podcasters use platforms like the Eagle Eye or social media to practice their sports communication skills?
Yeah, Eagle Eye is a great tool. I really never took advantage of it like I should have when I was in high school. I thought I was going to college for early childhood education until Waynesburg recruiter came and said about their sports announcing program. But yeah, the Eagle Eye is a great tool. It's already professional. TCAM puts you guys in a great spot for college and for future careers. And so, yeah, I just say do as many things sports-wise or even news-wise, because a lot of sports people start in news. So like even news, don't focus just on sports, but do a lot with the Eagle Eye for sure.
Okay. Or do you have anything else?
Could you tell us about that sports, the program you were in at Waynesburg that you just said?
Yeah, so when I got recruited for football, a recruiter came in, he asked what I was interested in. I said early childhood, maybe something in like sports media, and he said that the professor who would be my academic advisor in college was Lanny Fratteri, who was the Pittsburgh Pirates announcer for 33 years. So when I went on a tour of Waynesburg. I first went on a football tour, just talked with a lot of football coaches, saw the facilities, and then I went on a second tour, which was more academic, talked with Lanny Fratteri, and that's kind of what sold me. Obviously, he has 33 years of experience, so learning from him was great. And there were a lot of other great professors there that have multiple years of experience. Melinda Skirbin, who's actually the news director at WTAJ, multiple Emmys. So just to learn under them is really special, and they have a pretty good student-run TV station. It was great.
Yeah. So that's going to do it for this episode of TSPN and our entry for the PSPA podcast finals. I'm your host, Brandon Parsons, co-host Carter Glenn, and our special guest, Keegan Robbie. Thank you for watching.